on its way up. So,
Cool.
Okay.
man, Pat, that picture you sent earlier with the kitty cat and the puppy dog, that was pretty adorable.
Yeah, that lasted about 5 minutes. They're not really big fans of each other, but it was great while it lasted. They were very cute.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, we were pretty pleased.
I imagine the dog got in first, followed by the cat.
Yeah, it's dog's bed. Alyssa just put the cat in the bed with the dog, to be honest.
Oh, it
So
was
it's
okay.
semi-staged, but they did stay like that for a while without being forced.
Okay, so it wasn't exactly.
Sometimes they do sleep together too. Like sometimes the dog will be sleeping because the cat loves the dog.
Mhm.
So if the cat can get in with the dog without the dog knowing, then the cat's like super into it. So sometimes he'll sneak up and like while she's asleep, he'll like big spoon, and she won't realize that that he's there. And then she wakes up and flips out at him.
That's so sad.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's okay. They're mostly flea free now, so they're
Mostly.
happy campers. Yeah, we got them some supplements and stuff. So
Okay.
I hear that's what the okay. There's a pet convention. You bring all your pets, and it's flea 3. It's like Pax Pox, or, it's the convention illness, but for pets. So it's flea 3. Because people bring their fleas, and then everyone gets them. No, okay.
I was typing, so I muted my mic.
I don't know that I want. It sounds like you're just guaranteeing that you're going to bring back fleas with you, which sounds terrible.
No, yeah. I mean, it's like the
It's like
it'd be
Pax
like
Pox.
it'd be like P3, the Pets Party,
Pexpo.
Pexpo. And then, but as a joke, people call it Flea 3 because it's like, oh man, you're gonna get fleas.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Collect my thoughts. Okay. Okay. We ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready.
Yeah. To figure out what episode this is.
31.
So 31?
Okay.
31.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Gaming Fix episode 31. I am your host today, Andre Cole, aka your girl's favorite Dark Souls class. Girl's favorite Dark Souls class, that is. I am joined today by Alex Galinas.
Mostly flea free.
And Pat Cotter.
Mostly flea free, also.
Mostly. Best boy in the house.
Yeah, sure.
We've missed it.
Yeah, we've missed our best boy. But let's see. We got people on vacation at cons, honeymoons. Safe travels to all of them. Hopefully they come back with some interesting stories.
I thought you were just gonna say hopefully they come back. That too.
They can come back, but they better have interesting stories. If they're not going to have interesting stories, why even come back? You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough. Yeah.
I agree.
I don't want to hear about it. But yeah, today what I do want to hear about is video games.
You've been learning from Sam, huh?
Sam was adopted the podcast. I was born in it.
Oh my god. This is gonna be a long day, isn't it?
It's 7:19 in the morning. You're telling me. So, Alex, what have you brought to hear about or to talk about?
All right. Well, when it comes to video games, this week I've actually played many, but I've only going to bring two to the table today. And I'm going to let Pat pick which one he wants to hear about first.
The bad one.
Here's the surprise. Neither of them are bad.
Really? Okay.
So do you want the indie game or the AAA?
Probably the AAA. I thought that was going to be the bad one. I know what the games are, so.
Just give me a sec. I'm just switching the video for the stream, and let's do this. Okay, AAA game brought to you by Activision and Infinity Ward. It is the Black Ops 4 closed beta. So I have to thank Cheska for letting me borrow that from her. I just logged into her account and downloaded it, and, you know. Gasp. I know. Don't tell the feds. But, so, the really long story short, it's Call of Duty. I don't know if there's a surprise there from either of you.
No,
well, based on how much you disliked World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've played a lot of Call of Duty in the past, 2 years, way more than I have in any years prior to that. I played probably about 80 hours of Black Ops 3, and then probably roughly the same of World War II, which I really didn't like. I think this time around it works really well. It's kind of a nice blend of the two, between World War II and Black Ops 3. And by that I mean, Black Ops 3, the formula was a little different. So in Black Ops 3 you had stuff like lots of wall running and double jumps and stuff like that. Those aren't really in it right now, which at first I was kind of put off by, but the more I played, is actually, I think it's a little better balanced. And the that makes it more like World War II, because that's what they were talking. Sledgehammer was all boots on the ground Call of Duty, none of that stupid ability bullcrap. But the other thing that it did was I don't know, did either of you guys play much Black Ops 3?
I played some.
I haven't really touched Call of Duty since Black Ops 1.
Okay, so in 3 there were different specialties. And by those, they're kind of character classes, and each of them has an ultimate. And you would basically go to those character classes and pick them for their ultimate. You pick the guy who throws his hammers on the grounds and everything blows up, or whatever. That was the only real differentiator that the specialists had in Black Ops 3 was the ultimate. So you were either picking something that was hyper aggressive and destroy everything, or a support thing that would give your team extra boosts for 30 seconds or something, which it worked. But throughout the match, you didn't really feel like the specialist you were playing mattered, except for that ultimate. But they've changed it this time around. So every class, there's more classes for one thing, and they each have special abilities that recharge multiple times throughout the match, so probably every 45 seconds or so, and they're actually super useful things. There's you can do the support style one where you can place down a sentry, which basically shows enemy movements within a certain radius on the minimap. So it's basically having a UAV, but smaller scale. There's one where if you want to be more aggressive, there's trip mines that you can set up, so you set up one point of it at one place and the other point at the other place, and then it just connects it, so you can kind of set it up however you want, stuff like that. And you can set up barricades, you can set up barbed wire and all this stuff. You can set up mobile spawn points, that's just something that's on a refresh every 45 seconds. So I think those are really good, and the ultimates that they've added or that they've reworked or whatever the case might be are generally better. The support style ones especially, the support ones, one that I've done is there's kind of a medic class that you would think of kind of a Battlefield style medic class, but his ultimate is he just gives everyone on his team a permanent 50-point health boost. So if you're starting at 150, you get an extra 50 until you die. So stuff like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think it actually plays really well. I will say I don't love it, because I still don't love playing shooters on a console. So playing with a controller still feels like shit to me, but I think the game itself is really good, and it's been really stable. Never had any server problems. And it's a closed beta, so it's a smaller pool, but I think largely it's been a super positive experience, actually.
That's good. It's good to hear. I'm sort of, I doubt I will pick that game up when it releases, but I love the first two Black Ops. Black Ops 3 was okay. I wasn't crazy about it, but it was fine. And then I kind of just sort of hadn't really played any since then. I picked up World War II last weekend because it was on sale for a lot off, and it's not very, like, I wouldn't tell people to run out and get it, but it's fine in the state it's in now. But I kind of concur that I've moved away from that series largely because I just prefer to play on PC now. And they haven't seemed that compelling on PC. Like, they've always felt to me like they should be played on a console even while you're playing them on PC. And World War II gets away from that a little bit. I think it feels better than the last few that I had played on PC did. But yeah, I don't know. The thing that I wonder though is, like, and maybe this is a specifically like platform based issue, but like, there's, I think, a niche that could exist between something like, and I don't know that Call of Duty cares about what niches exist, but between something like Overwatch and Rainbow Six, where like Siege is very, very, very hard to play. It's very hard to get into. It's brutally like one shot, one kill. It's very, very much like very tactical and slow paced. Unless you're like really, really good and you can just run out and kill everyone, and sometimes you get matched with those people and it's a disaster. But like the characters have different abilities and stuff, you know, like they're it's sort of like Overwatch except extremely tactical and very, very harsh. And then Overwatch is much more like sort of not that it's not highly competitive, but it's just a different feeling of game. It feels like it's so based on objectives. So I feel like there's room in there for a game that is more military focused and more shooting focused, but that is also has those abilities and has that kind of Overwatch complexity to the way the characters work.
Sure. And I think that can exist in Call of Duty. I think it depends on the mode you play though, because largely with this beta, I've been playing Team Deathmatch. There are 4 modes available, and I think if you're going for the more tactical one, you can do Search and Destroy, which is basically Counter-Strike.
Yep. Which is how Rainbow Six Siege works. If you haven't played it, it's a one team plants a bomb, the other diffuses it. Yeah,
for sure. And I haven't tried it yet. I think maybe I should, because you might be able to get a little bit of that in there.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll play a bit of that and then get back to it. I've put in probably 5 hours so far this weekend.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, I don't know, it's cool.
I'm intrigued to hear what they do with their battle royale stuff too. I don't think it's going to be very good, but interesting.
I'm not 100% hopeful for it yet.
Yeah.
Like I have no idea what to make of it, because I still think Call of Duty is a little too fast paced for that to work. But I don't know, give them the benefit of the doubt and see what happens when it actually comes out. But by the way, the menu treatment that this game got is straight out of Destiny. Like you know how you have like the little cursor that you're moving around and it snaps to stuff?
That's the worst thing. Why? That's not good.
Yeah, it's all about that.
My game also has that.
I'm
playing it on PC, but I'm using a controller, so it's all
fair enough. But yeah, I don't know. So far, feelings on the closed beta, like it more than World War II. I think I like it more than Black Ops 3, but it's still only 5 hours in. We'll see.
Sure.
And is the fact that there's no single player, does that have any effect on your future enjoyment of the game, do you think?
I never played Black Ops 3's campaign. I got like 4/5 of the way through World War II's campaign and dropped it because I thought it was terrible. So I'm good. I think for some people it's going to be a bummer because they like that roller coaster ride, and the Black Ops series historically has a pretty interesting campaign. But
the problem is that the first 2 games had like such an interesting story and were actually really fun to play the campaigns through. And then the third one just dropped so much of what made the first 2 really cool. I never managed to get through all of the third ones.
Yeah, I never touched it. Like the first one just had a cool story with the numbers and Mason and all that. And then the second one had all of those like divergent choices and stuff that you could make throughout the campaign, right?
And it was still connected to that
Yeah.
first game story. But yeah,
Yep,
yeah, I
yeah.
think that was the case.
And a lot of cases, if I recall, in the second one, you didn't even necessarily know you were making a choice. Like
Yeah.
there would be instances where you would receive a directive to like shoot someone, and and so you just shot them. But if you actually didn't shoot them, it would be a branching story path, and you just didn't know that was a thing unless you didn't do it, took a chance. So that stuff was so subversive and cool, and really kind of got back to the core of what I think I liked about Call of Duty, the stories in the original World War II ones way back when.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But I feel like with how much people poo-pooed on Infinite Warfare and everything, Advanced Warfare 2, I guess, like I feel like maybe they just didn't feel as willing to take another risk, so they just doubled down on the multiplayer. I don't know. I can't claim to know. I'm not the developer, but
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I don't understand the response to those games when it's like, when it's bad. I'm like, what? Why? What? You're mad because it's in space? What?
yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the large reasons they got rid of the double jump, honestly, is because people were just like, I don't know how to hit the X button twice.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought the increased mobility stuff was really cool, and I think that you're kidding yourself if you think that something like World War II is like slower. I don't know. Playing that game, part of the reason that I've enjoyed the time that I've spent with it is because it is so different. But like, you sprint around and just like pop off shots with bolt action rifles on people, ripping around corners. Like there's no part of that game that is like realistic or tactical at all. It's just as ludicrous as everything else. So I don't understand why like the difference between whether there's a wall run or a dolphin dive really bothers people that much.
Well, at least with like the wall run, it opens up so much more that you can do, and maybe that's just like, for some people they're just like, no, I just want to run around and shoot. I don't want to worry about like all these extra like points of attack or something.
Yeah, and
I don't know.
I kind of get, I guess what I'm saying is I kind of get the appeal of that, because that was sort of the refreshing thing about playing World War II, is that it's just sprinting around and shooting.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that's like, I don't know, go play Quake Champions or something if you're that tied to that.
I think it's a very vocal minority that actually cares about that stuff.
I think you're probably right.
Since they're so vocal, they can direct the conversation around those who are less vocal and maybe not as plugged in.
Yeah, I would agree. I think verticality does add a lot to it. So it's kind of a bummer that it's not there, but who knows? Maybe it'll show up in another. Maybe they'll have like a special mode for it or something.
Well, it would also be cool if they gave it to certain specialists too. I mean, that's the thing that Overwatch does.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Certain characters can wall run or climb up ledges or whatever.
Yep, there is one character who has a grapple hook, so he can kind of fly around real fast and stuff like that. So maybe I haven't really played that specialist, so I don't know. One last thing to note: there's no auto regenerating health in this game.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so like your L
from World War II.
Yeah, even World War II had that, but you basically have a L2 button that's your heal. So you inject yourself with heal, and then you can add different perks or whatever that make it more frequent, or it speeds up the heal and stuff like that.
So everyone has the heal though.
Yep.
Okay. And it's just like on a 45-second cooldown or something.
Less than that, I would say like 10-second maybe.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it sounds like it's just auto healing. Just you have to push a button first. Like,
right. Yeah. So you kind of have to micromanage it in a way. Like, I mean, it's a very high level micromanage, but
how quick is it to like? Is it like, okay, you stab yourself and there's an animation and then it like charges up over like a few seconds, or is it like stab yourself and you're up?
Yeah, it's basically there's an animation that takes, let's say, 1.5 seconds, which is stabbing yourself, and then it probably takes, without any perks, probably about 3 seconds to go. Like let's say you're at like 5 health, it probably takes 3.5, maybe 4 seconds to get all the way up. But you can get perks that like cut the animation speed in half and like cut that time in half, basically.
Yeah.
So you can still totally get killed in that time.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a cool dynamic. I don't know. Feelings are way more positive than I thought they would be for me.
It just feels like they really need to. Like, I keep hoping that this is what EA is building towards with Battlefield, they really need to just fucking cool it and like say like this is not like that's kind of why I wish they hadn't even called it Black Ops 4 and they just called it Black Ops again and just said like this is the Black Ops platform from now on. This is the near future Call of Duty. World War II is the World War II Call of Duty, and you know whatever they do next is the future Call of Duty or whatever. Like I don't know. It's a frustrating thing thinking like, hey, I'm liking World War II, but in 6 months, is it going to be possible to find a game of it?
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's very frustrating. And like EA, I don't know how much it's going to work, but EA is trying to like unify the Battlefield games with a single launcher that like when you launch any of them, you can navigate to Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, or Battlefield 4. And it feels like maybe they're trying to kind of like, here's your different flavors of Battlefield, but it's still just as viable to play Battlefield 4 as it is to play the newest one.
Right. Is that still Battlelog?
No, it's not in a browser anymore.
Okay.
It's a like application-based menu. The weird thing is that they're not all the same executable. Like if you go to
no.
Like,
no.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, whatever.
Oh no.
I don't care if I said.
We have our own.
It's 2018. Come on.
Don't kink shame him.
Okay, it's not the same collection of files stored on your hard drive in a hierarchy of folders. There are different hierarchies of folders for the different Battlefield games. They don't share asset files between their different folder sets. So you have to, if you click on Battlefield 4 in like, if you launch Battlefield 5, then click Battlefield 4 in the like menu, it'll say, do you want to launch Battlefield 4? And you have to have that installed still and stuff. So it's not perfect, but it's kind of moving in a direction that I'm a fan of.
That's cool. I mean, I have mixed feelings about software as a service in general, but like if they started treating it like WoW or like classic MMOs where they're charging you per month rather than you going out and buying a box, then I would feel a little weird about it. But
I think there's a middle ground that can exist. Like I think Overwatch is a great example of that. And I'm not suggesting that like Overwatch and Call of Duty are directly comparable from a business perspective, but it's a good example of how that can look long term. Of, I think there's a way that they could say like this. Like I said, Black Ops can be the near future one, and next year maybe they'll put out a box that is something else. But if they can continue to support the games that they've put out over the last couple of years that are their different flavors, that would be really kind of cool.
Yeah. I don't know.
One last question. Loot boxes, are they apparent in the beta or?
They have no presence in the beta, but I imagine they will exist. Because Black Ops 3 was full of them.
World War II has so many of them.
Yeah. But also, like, World War II came out last year, like, in the midst of all, like, the backlash. So
it's also all cosmetic, too. So
yeah. Like, are they're purchasable, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so I wonder what'll happen.
Dude, World War II's, I don't know if Black Ops 4 is going to be like this, but World War II's system of, like, loot is fucking weird. That's some of the strangest stuff. It's even weirder than Battlefield 1, where it's like you can get like purple and orange guns, but they don't have different stats.
They're just rarer.
They're just rarer, and they look slightly different, but not like radically different, just like different camo pattern or something. But then you can still just apply a different camo pattern on top of it. And they do things like this one fulfills weapon challenges at twice as fast, or this one gives you double XP, or like this one earns you points towards cosmetics faster. It's so strange.
Well, they can't really go and like say this one does more damage than
of course.
Like, so they have to do something to like make it seem like, ooh, I got the good one.
Yeah, it's definitely better than it could have been. In Battlefield 1, they just did it where like it was weapon skins, basically. Some of them had slight model variations too, but it was basically just weapon skins. That's what you were getting out of the boxes, the loot crates. But they didn't call them, and they had different rarities, but they were just purely skins. They didn't have this weird, like, there's like 4 billion cosmetic options in World War II. It's completely insane. And none of them seem to really like you can overwrite them all with different ones and stuff. It's so weird. That game is a strange thing.
And then 9 times out of 10 you're dropping emblems.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways,
I don't know. In a game where you barely ever see the other person because it moves so fast, it's very strange.
Yeah. I don't know. The thing I find most interesting about Call of Duty is the fact that Infinity Ward has become kind of the lowest tier and Treyarch has somehow become the highest. Like, that's people now await the Treyarch game way more than they await the Infinity Ward game. So, anyways, that's enough talk about Call of Duty probably.
It's way more than I thought we would do.
Yeah. So, give me just a second to switch the video that's going on in the background, and let's have a little talk about this random indie video game that I got introduced to by a streamer friend of mine. So she showed me this game, and as soon as she showed me, I was like, oh man, that art style is super cool. I'm going to go pick up that game because it looks hella rad. And after that, it just went straight upwards. Like, my appreciation for it just kept getting better and better and better. So the game itself is called Just Shapes and Beats, and I'd heard little bits and pieces of people mentioning it here and there, but never really heard anyone saying anything about its quality or if it's worth playing, just that it exists. And so first, like, what the game is it's a mashup of genres, and usually genre mashups make me feel hesitant because, like, it feels like mashups can sometimes just be cobbled together or uninspired. Like, it's a developer looking at a wall full of popular genres and then throwing 2 darts at it, just like thunk roguelike, thunk Metroidvania, and then slamming them together. But this mashup is one of a rhythm game and a bullet hell. And the first thing I have to say is that the studio, Berserk Studio, I think they're out of Quebec, they totally nailed it. Like, you can tell they're really passionate about both music and games, and it shows in like every single moment of that game and every aspect, like from the UI to the gameplay to the soundtrack to just everything. So for one, the music is like exceptionally good. Like, it's largely EDM focused, so it has a lot of dubstep and trap and like that kind of stuff. So you have to kind of like that genre, I guess, but I think even if you don't have that much of appreciation for it, it's still 100% worth getting into.
As someone who isn't into that kind of music, watching videos, I'm like, this is pretty good.
Yeah, like it's also weird combinations of that music. Like, it's kind of chiptune-y with straight up EDM. So, which is usually chiptune artists are like, oh no, we have to be pure. But I think these guys did a really good blend of
It's
that.
like serious dub and trap too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's not like video game dub and trap where that's like you could hear that music is stuff you would hear at a festival.
Yes, 100%. So, but yeah, music is great. And the art, like I said, the art is actually what initially drew me into it, because I think for an indie game of a studio of 3 people, it is maybe the most cohesive art style I've ever seen. Like, it's really well executed, and it's super cool the way everything moves and kind of undulates, I guess.
It's a very simple like art style, which isn't bad, but it's not like super detailed. It's just like a lot of lines and shapes, but it's like the name says, just shapes and beats.
Yeah, but it has this style to it that's just super cool. But
yeah, it does look very cool.
I would also say that the gameplay also holds up its end of the bargain, though I will say that it is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
So, like, in the options menu, you can turn on what they call casual mode, which basically doubles your hit points. And even with that, sometimes it's still ridiculously hard. Like, I've whiffed on levels even with double hit points. So I only have 2 criticisms for the game. One is that, like, hyper difficulty, it can be really unforgiving. So sometimes I'll get back to it. The hyper difficulty, but also I think the story mode is too short. And first, I was surprised that it had a story mode. But the thing is, the story mode was so amazing that I wish there was like more of it, because it was just so good. Like, I hope at least one other person on the cast plays it so we can talk about that story mode.
You sold me. I'm definitely going to play this, I think.
Sick. I'm super excited to talk about the story mode with you, because I think it's really special, and I don't want to spoil about like why. And it's also weird to say like I don't want to spoil a rhythm game story,
Yeah.
but
To
yeah, the one thing I'll say is that I got some real near vibes from it, especially with like around the final boss of the game.
yeah. Yeah, to be honest, like the thing that kind of I remember when it came out, and the thing that kind of I was lost on is I didn't think that the visuals looked that impressive in screenshots.
Mhm.
But now that I've watched some trailers, like actually seen it in motion, it's really cool when you see it move. It's so flat that in screenshots, it's flat when it's still, that I thought it was kind of amateurish. But when you see it in motion, you can tell that it's just very, the character is all in the animation.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing that I kind of assumed about it, because when I see like music based anything, I just assume that it's going to be that kind of. I always go back to Sound Shapes. Like I just assume it's going to be another one of those. And it's not that
Yeah.
Sound Shapes is a bad game necessarily, and it's not that the music in it is bad necessarily, but it's very. I don't like it when artists try to cram EDM music into a video game. Like when they try to make music for a video game. A good example of that issue is like if you look at the soundtrack to Rocket League has a load of awesome dub and trap music and like techno pop in it. And most of it wasn't made for the soundtrack of Rocket League, and it just is cool electronic music that is fun to listen to while you play Rocket League. Dead Mouse is on that soundtrack. That's why I think it's interesting, because if you also look at Dead Mouse's music from Sound Shapes, like his music in Rocket League is so much better than what he did for Sound Shapes, because it's like deconstructed to be music gamey. And it seems like Just Beats and Shapes, from the little bit of the soundtrack that I listened to, it's like they kind of have cracked it a little more than in a lot of cases where it's tied directly into the gameplay. But like I said, it's music you could hear at like a festival. It's actually like really engaging music if you're into that genre beyond just being video game music.
Totally. And I would completely agree. And it's really apparent from the levels. Like one thing that should be noted is that there's no like level creator or anything, and I think that would be really cool. But it should also be said that all of those levels are like painstakingly handcrafted for every individual song.
Yeah.
So like you said, like it's not as though they just licensed a bunch of music and then made stuff that kind of works with it. It's like no, it's completely integral to the experience. So yeah, the another thing about it is it has a absolute ton of replay value. It has challenge mode, which is basically you can load up 3 songs, or like it'll give you a selection of 3 songs and you pick the one you want to do, and then you're just trying to do challenges with it, like how far can you get without using a boost, how far can you go without taking any damage, kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get points, and then you unlock more songs. And I would say, let's say this isn't the actual number, but if there's 20 songs in the main game, there's probably about 50 songs in that challenge mode. Like
Oh, cool.
so there are more levels beyond what's in the story mode.
That's very
And
cool.
one of them I ran into, because the challenge mode is completely random, but one of the songs is what you purchase with like the highest amount of points, and I was really surprised to see it in there.
Yeah.
And it's one that I know that both of you guys know.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know if I should spoil that or just let you figure it out.
No. I'm downloading it now. I will definitely.
Yeah,
The
check it
Wii
out.
burning song from Far Cry 3.
yeah, it's that Skrillex dubstep thing. No. It is from a classic arcade game of the 90s.
Oh, that's cool.
Turtles in Time.
But yeah, no, I love that game. I think it's safe to say it's definitely in my top 10 for the year, and probably in my top 3. So
I both want to play it and I'm intimidated by it. Every time I've watched videos, I just get overwhelmed and I'm like, that
yeah,
sounds really cool, but also I don't. Ugh.
yeah, I think if you don't love bullet hells, it might be a hard sell because it is very difficult.
I
Yeah.
weirdly tend to really love bullet hells. I don't ever like. I don't. How do I want to phrase this? I don't like the bullet hell. Like a lot of the Japanese games that are specifically built for that genre.
Like two.
But yeah, or like Ikaruga, or like a lot of the like top down shooters I'm not crazy about. But I love bullet hell sequences in other games, and I love like every time games incorporate aspects of bullet hells. So like really, it's got to be the right aesthetic for me to enjoy it, I think.
Mhm.
And yeah,
Like parts of Nier.
exactly. Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, play that game. It's super cool.
Cool.
Okay. Well, so Pat, I gave a very specific direction. I want to hear about video games. What do you have?
My game will be a video game in the next few weeks.
I'll accept it.
There will be you'll be able to play it digitally, just not yet.
I'll allow it.
So I had a bit of a weird video game week because I was like laid up in intense tooth pain for a few days, and then got a root canal on Thursday.
Rip.
So much of my week was spent on managing tooth pain, and I did not want to play any video games. I just wanted to lay on the couch and watch Giant Bomb. Basically, was what I did with most of that time. But a game came out Thursday that I received my product for last night at Gen Con, which is Gen Con is for those who don't know, is I think still the largest gaming convention in the North America. It's
Gen Con standing for generic convention.
so it's a tabletop convention. So it's all board games, card games, role-playing games. There's a small video game presence there every year, but it's like Blizzard has a booth there this year, but it's usually just where there's some crossover. Like I think Blizzard is mainly pushing Hearthstone there. Sometimes video game companies, when they have board games coming out that are licensed to another company that's really small, the video game company will do a booth. But it's an interesting show because it's very purchasing focused. There's nothing like it in video games because, like, if you imagined PAX, but the main reason you go to Gen Con is to buy new shit, that's what it's about. Like the vendor hall, the exhibitor hall is the main attraction at Gen Con, and it's just that like hundreds and hundreds of tabletop games release there, and you can wait for them to hit retail stores, but usually you can buy them 2 to 3 to 4 months before they'll be available in stores at Gen Con. So the main reason you go is to like get swept up in buying the crazy new stuff.
Doesn't that also give you an opportunity to like play with people?
Yeah, so there are like tournaments and open play, and you do get to play a lot of stuff while you're there, but trust me, like it's largely to go and buy stuff. And it's not so much to be able to like go and demo a game before you buy it. That's true of smaller stuff, but like for example, a while back I was talking about the X-Wing miniatures game, and they have their 2.0 version comes out next month, but you were able to purchase it this week at Gen Con, and there was no try before you buy. There was get to the vendor hall as early as you can to sit in line, and then as soon as the doors open, you walk as fast as you possibly can to the Fantasy Flight Games booth to buy it before it sells out. Like it's really weird. It's a very strange experience if you're not used to it.
Mm-hmm. But then are people like, do people buy their game and leave?
No. You stick around and play it.
Yeah. Okay. So you go, you buy stuff, and then you set up and you play with other people.
Right. Yeah. But in a lot of cases, like in the case of something like X-Wing, I mean, you can play that at your local store too. So the draw is definitely the purchase. It's not like you don't play your stuff that you buy at all. And there is a certain fun of like, typically most people when they go with friends. And so you like when I used to go when I lived closer, it's in Indianapolis. So when I lived closer, we would go and then we would say like, someone would say, well, I'm going to go buy this game. Someone would go buy this game. And then we would kind of meet up again. And then everyone would sit around and play all the games we bought. And there's a certain fun to that. And in a lot of cases, like maybe in some board games cases, like the only times I ever played it was right after I bought it at Gen Con. But
yeah.
But at the end of the day, though, it still is way more focused on buying stuff than most other cons. But anyway, I kind of digress.
Just for context, real quick. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask, like, about how many vendors would you say there are?
Oh, geez, hundreds.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Like dozens, but hundreds is a lot.
No, yeah. So it's vendors of all sizes. That's the crazy part. Like, there's like probably 15 to 20.
Everyone has a Warhammer game now, so
it's funny in tabletop that license is a lot more heavily guarded. But there's like the big heavy hitters like Games Workshop, who makes Warhammer, Fantasy Flight Games, who makes X-Wing and a lot of other stuff, and then like Wizards of the Coast, who makes Magic the Gathering. Like those are the big, huge, elaborate booths. But there's hundreds of my favorite part of going to Gen Con is not so much you do the rush in, buy the new Fantasy Flight game that is like $100 or whatever. My favorite part of it though is walking like the far corners of the halls, and then there's literally people like hustling their games out there. There's people like that stop you and say like, hey, do you like crime drama? Do you want to come play my new miniatures game? It's like focused on Chicago mob scene in the 20s. And that's the cool stuff, is walking around and seeing all these independent designers. And again, there's hundreds of them, because you can get a booth that's the size of like a computer desk. So just lots of these people selling. I remember one of the years that I went, I got super deep in this like living card game, semi-collectible card game from a team based in Michigan that was about like alternate history Detroit, and I got super invested in it and played in a bunch of games, and then never did anything with it ever again. So like there's a lot of that kind of stuff that you see there. So anyway, a few weeks, month or two ago, I brought a game called Lightseekers, which was a trading card game that's a sort of app enabled trading card game. You can buy physical or digital cards, but when you buy the physical cards, you can scan them into the game and play them. So the same company on Thursday released a game called Warhammer Age of Sigmar Champions, which is like actually one of the few currently licensed Warhammer products in tabletop. And it's a straight up trading card game based on Age of Sigmar. And it's like it has some elements of Lightseekers in it, but it's a lot more nuanced in a lot of ways. And I can honestly say it's like easily one of the coolest card games I've played in the last 10 years or so. It's very unique.
For the company, would you say the video game analogy would be like how Ingress turned into Pokemon Go? Like they started their own thing and then it turned into a licensed property that was potentially way bigger?
Yeah, definitely. I think the difference is that I think that's an interesting analogy, and the difference from a business perspective here is that a lot of Warhammer players have disdain for card games. Like the people that are going to end up playing this game are largely not going to be people who play the tabletop, the miniatures game, because there's this sort of snobbishness among wargaming of like, well, what we do is a real hobby. Trading card games aren't a real hobby. And I think it's bullshit, but it is sort of a prevailing idea in those communities. And it's a card game card games are tough because it's a card game that is very flavorful and fun, and it's cool that it's based on Age of Sigmar, but it could be based on Lord of the Rings, it could be based on Star Wars, it could be based on just about anything. It's really hard to make a card game that its theme ties into its mechanics too heavily. Part of the reason that like the Pokemon card game is one of the ones that's really successful is because of that, because the theme ties in so well with what the game is. But Age of Sigmar Champions is really cool because like if you've ever played anything like Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering or whatever, it's just like totally different. There are almost no parallels to any other trading card game. Again, the closest thing is there are some similarities to their other game, Lightseekers, but even those are kind of loose ties. It's like as out there as like Gwent is, in that it's just totally different. The basic idea being that like you pick one of the grand alliances from Warhammer, which is like order, chaos, death, and destruction. And then you build a team of 4 heroes and then a choice of 4 of these major, they're called blessings, but they're like reward cards that do something really big. And then you build a deck of 30 cards, and you basically try to like use your cards to complete quests, which are outlined by your character's cards. And when you complete the quests, you get those big buff bonuses. But you're still trying to kill your opponent. It's still like a life-based, like Magic the Gathering in that sense of like, I have 35 health, you have 35 health. So there's like lanes created by each of the champions, and they play units into the lanes, and as the cards rotate, they do different effects. really wild and out there. It's really fun.
Cool.
So, do you think this is going to be similar to what what is it?
Lightseekers?
Artifact?
Oh, Artifact.
Do you think it's gonna? Do you think Artifact is going to be doing a similar thing with like lanes and stuff?
So I don't think so. They don't refer to them as lanes in Sigmar Champions because I think they're trying to avoid comparisons to like MOBAs because it's not really like that. It's more like a battlefield layout in that there's usually cards. They have like notations on them that show what positions on the board each card can affect.
Okay.
Whereas Artifacts, from what I've seen of it, there's pretty limited gameplay footage, but from what I've seen of it, it almost looks like you're playing 3 games of Hearthstone at the same time in 3 different lanes. Which I'm hoping that it is more elaborate than that, and I think it probably will be because again, there's pretty limited info out there about it. So I don't think that they're trading on the same thing exactly. But the other thing, without bogging us down, like talking about the rules of this game, it's just a really cool. It's cool that this company has finally nailed bridging physical and digital games. Yu-Gi-Oh has tried to do it. Like you can scan, or not scan, but you can enter in codes from the cards to get them digitally. But like, imagine opening a pack of 10 boosters and then sitting there with your phone and typing in 10, 12-digit codes. Like, that's just it's not fun. And then on top of that, the digital game for Yu-Gi-Oh kind of sucks. It just doesn't run well and it doesn't look good. Whereas what PlayFusion has done, like you just hold your phone up over a stack of 20 cards and then it just scans them and they're in. So like I picked up all 4 of the starter decks and an entire box of boosters, which is around 500 cards. So it's a lot of cards, and it took me like an hour and a half, but I had them all scanned and sorted and everything put together. It's just really exciting because that's always been kind of like one of those dream things, I think, for a lot of trading card game players is like, I wish I could play this game digitally and have both physical and digital copies of it so that I can play it out and pull it out and play it at a store or play it on my phone or desktop or whatever.
So what happens if you purchase a digital card and it's like the rarest card in the game, like, but you want to play it physically? What happens in that case?
There's definitely, you wouldn't be able to play with it physically. So that's one of the things.
Print it out.
That's one of the things that's a little. They kind of differentiate in the app between your physical and digital cards. The Age of Sigmar Champions game part, the app to scan the cards in is out, but the game part is still locked. Okay. They're doing a beta, but it'll work the same way as Lightseekers, which has been out now for a little bit. In that your physical cards, the way they differentiate them is that as you play with the physical cards that you scanned in digitally, they actually gain levels in the app, whereas the digital cards that you get do not. So the idea being like, for something like Lightseekers, I'm probably never going to play Lightseekers physically ever again because it's like, for example, I've been trying to pound pavement and get people to carry this Warhammer game. I went into a local comic book store that does, or really game store first, that does trading card games. And I was talking to the owner and he was like, oh yeah, I haven't heard of this game. And then I said, have you heard of Lightseekers? And he was like, nope, never heard of it. And this is a guy that like sells trading card games as their livelihood and dude does a good job at it, enough to afford rent in Seattle. So like that tells you how limited and how small of a community is around Lightseekers. So in that game, I don't really have a problem with just owning mostly digital cards, but because there's the license behind Sigmar, the one thing that they kind of encourage you to buy physical cards with too is that it's not actually cheaper to buy the digital cards. It's about the same price. So it actually makes more sense to order physical cards online, even if you can't buy them locally.
You were saying you bought like the booster packs or whatever. You bought a lot of cards.
Yeah.
So this is a game where you are buying expansion packs and you're not just buying, or you're buying booster packs of like 10 cards each instead of buying like expansion packs where you know what you're getting in every pack.
It's definitely random pulls. The nice thing about this game is for for starters, it's basically 30 card decks. Like I said, you pick 4 heroes and 4 blessings that kind of are tied to each hero, but your deck is 30 cards. But you get 13 cards per booster pack, which is kind of a lot. So that part's kind of cool. The boosters are priced the same as Magic the Gathering boosters, $3 to $4, depending on the market that you're in. And then you can get them for way less if you buy them in bulk, like I did. And the other nice thing about it is it does not have a legendary rarity tier. So if you're familiar with things like Hearthstone, there'll be a card rarity that you're only going to get in maybe 1 out of 6 packs. And even then, it's not guaranteed. The nice thing about Sigmar is there's just commons, uncommons, and rares, and you get, I think it's 8 commons, 4 uncommons, and whatever, 2 rares, or a rare in every pack. So it's kind of cool because there's not quite the same. The card per card prices aren't going to be as crazy as they are in some other games with like ultra high rarity levels. And like I have 1 box and I might get 1 more box, but after that I think I'm going to be good. You don't need to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on getting packs.
What if they put out more packs?
Well, they will eventually, but that's actually one of the values of it being kind of a small team and a small company, is that unlike a company like Wizards of the Coast that has Magic the Gathering releases planned for the next 10 years, PlayFusion has put out they just released their 3rd Lightseekers set, and that game has been out for 2 years. So they don't come out every 2 or 3 months like they do with Magic the Gathering. It's more like every year or so they come out with a new set. It's a lot easier to keep up with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I have a generalized tabletop question.
Yeah.
So a lot of games are kind of like this, where they release expansions, they release new cards that are thrown into the mix, and you're just kind of encouraged to purchase them additionally. Are there any like self-contained, like fully self-contained tabletop games that are kind of held in the same regard as like the original Steel Battalion, where it's just it's just super expensive and kind of really intense to get into, but is really beloved by a small community?
Yeah, there's quite a few. Things like
Twilight Imperium, is that one?
Twilight Imperium is a great example of that. I have played exactly 2 games of Twilight Imperium. Arkham Horror kind of holds that sort of space. They actually just announced a new edition of Arkham Horror at Gen Con that I'm very excited about because it's one of my favorite games.
That game's
a great game.
Yes. The problem with Arkham Horror is sort of against what you're saying, is the 2nd edition of Arkham Horror, they released a lot of expansions for it. They're not collectible expansions. They're all in a box. You know what you're getting. But it got to the point where to get a full set of Arkham Horror expansions, it was around $500. And then on top of that, you needed about 3 to 4 card tables worth of space to play it on, and about 8 to 10 hours. I'm not exaggerating. I have played a 9-hour game of Arkham Horror before. In one sitting. So some of those games got a little too crazy. Twilight Imperium is not far off from that too. Generally that thing is pretty common. Diplomacy is an example of a game that's like that, which is just a very classic kind of simple board game. Advanced Squad Leader is a game that originally came out in, I want to say, the 70s, maybe 80s. That was a World War II themed tactical combat game. That one has people still play that today. It hasn't been in print for probably 20 years, and people play that. So yeah, it's not uncommon for there to be a pretty heavy communities around very specific games.
Cool.
Yeah. Actually, too, I will briefly mention, since we have a light cast today anyway, a game was announced at Gen Con that is one of the wildest things I've seen in like card gaming. I'm really hoping that it's super cool. So do you guys know who Richard Garfield is?
He loves lasagna.
So he's the main guy who created Magic the Gathering.
Right.
He's sort of a godfather of card game design. He's also working on Artifact with Valve. That's part of why I'm excited about that game.
Does he also hate Mondays?
Yeah, he probably does hate Mondays. I think that's kind of a requirement with a name like that. So they announced his new physical card game at Gen Con. It's called Keyforge. It's the wildest thing. So you in every other trading card game, you like buy random packs of cards and then you build a deck. That is how trading card games work generally. Like Age of Sigmar, I buy this box of boosters and then I make a deck out of 30 of those cards. So in Keyforge, you buy a $10 deck and its contents are randomized. They're procedurally generated, basically. Like it does math to figure out what a balanced deck is, puts those cards together, and then you cannot modify that deck. That is it. You can buy another deck, and maybe that deck will be more to your taste, but there is no deck building whatsoever.
So wait, okay, is this a physical or digital game?
It's a physical game. It's a physical game.
How are you going to enforce this? This is bullshit.
Well, no, the way they enforced it is because when you buy the deck, the backs of the cards are printed a certain way. So, and not like it's like Diablo items. It'll say like willful blah 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 of soul or something, and it's like it's worded like a Diablo item, and it'll be like a red color. So if I have a blue backed card in my deck, it looks totally different, and you can go, hey, wait a minute, that's not from that deck. It's so weird, and I was so not on board at first. I thought it sounded like a money grab of like buy decks and decks and decks until you get a deck that is better than everybody else's. But it sounds like they're trying to mathematically balance the decks so that it's not when you can be confident that like your deck is going to be as good as someone else's, and all of the game balance is basically based on who plays better. That sounds so cool. The idea of like removing net decks and removing buying packs of cards and just it being like, yeah, I buy 2 or 3 decks and then find the deck out of those that I like, maybe trade a deck with somebody else who has one that they don't like as much. And then that's it. Sounds really, really neat. And then also the idea of being able to play in tournaments where it's like a $10 entry fee and I'm handed a deck at the door, and then you get 20 minutes to review what's in your deck, and then you're playing a tournament. That sounds so fun too. So I recommend anyone who thinks that sounds intriguing, keep an eye out for it. It's supposed to come out later this year.
Cool.
I've been kind of searching for tabletop games in my area, but I don't know, being an expat, it's difficult.
Yeah, I imagine that's kind of tough.
Instead of best Pat.
I am fortunate in that I am in a very geeky part of the United States. So there's about 25 different stores that I could be playing at any given night. It's just a matter of trying to find people that are interested. I'm having a hell of a time trying to find people that actually want to play a Warhammer card game in 2018 outside of Seattle, Washington.
That's fair. Well, now I will share what I've been playing. It's Warhammer. It's kind of.
There are vampires in Age of Sigmar Champions.
Okay, well, yeah. There's your segue. Oh wow, whole deck of vampires. At one point in Vampire by Don't Nod, you were on a boat. So it's a vampire on a deck instead of in a deck.
There you go. Perfect.
Man, imagine if he was on a skateboard though.
Oh man. Oh, the Tony Hawk 6. Skate 4. Vampires on deck. I've been playing that vampire game by Don't Nod, makers of Life is Strange and Remember Me. That game's real reminiscent of Mass Effect, specifically of the Citadel stuff, where you're going around and you're talking to people and you're getting lore and like stories. And then they're like, oh, I lost this thing, or I got attacked. I don't know what happened. And then you go to where they said they were attacked, and you're like, yeah, there's some bad vampires here. And then you beat them up, and then you find like, oh, I found your wallet. And then like everyone in the game sucks. They all have like deep secrets because it's like 20th century Spanish flu London.
Yeah.
So
everybody sucked.
Everybody sucks. There's some, at least I don't know at the moment. Some people, there's like a few people who are like,
everybody sucks because everyone's a vampire.
No, not everyone's a vampire. That would be a disappointing twist. I don't actually know how far into it I am because I'm doing like all the side quests I pick up. I've played like I think like 16 hours maybe, or I don't know, maybe 16. Let me see what Steam says. I think on how long to beat, it said the game is about 16 hours to beat. I've played about 12, but also I've only done like a few story missions because there's so much side content in the game, and there's no fast travel. So everything you do, you have to like run through all the burrows and stuff. And there's like 4 main areas, I think.
Hmm.
And they've all got like stuff to look in and check out. So it's very similar to Mass Effect, where you've got these like small areas that you can run through and look at and use your powers to like you can like jump up on a ledge or stuff like that. It's not like super traversal based, but there are like, safe houses and stuff that you get up off the street and go to. Or like some back alleys you can go down and find some loot. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. The writing and stuff is pretty good. The combat is not amazing, but it's like not why you're there. So much like Mass Effect, where like if you can work around like the combat, it's fine.
So what you're telling me is that the combat in Vampire 2 is going to be significantly better.
Yeah, yeah. I would hope. Well, I never played much of Remember Me. I played like the tutorial of Remember Me, and what people say about that is the tutorial or the combat isn't very good. So I wouldn't hold your breath, but maybe. um, you get so the way you level up is you get experience for doing side quests, but you can also like feed on the NPCs around. And then if you find their like personality traits, or if you find out like secrets about them or heal whatever's ailing them, because you're a doctor. So if you give them medicine for whatever, like their migraine or their bronchitis or whatever, it increases the quality of their blood. So when you feed on them, you get more experience. But if you feed on them, you kill them, and then it locks you out of any quests that would involve them because you can't get their help because they're dead.
Is
Yeah.
is like the feeding. So is the feeding just giving you experience points, or is it required that you do it regularly?
You feeding is also part of like combat. So
Mhm.
like you'll like stun an enemy and then bite them, and then that'll
Right.
fill up your blood meter. So like that's kind of required for combat, but you don't need to feed on any of the like
Got it.
story NPCs. You
Okay.
can if you want. It'll give you more experience, so the game will be easier. If you don't feed, then the game is harder. I'm choosing not to feed on anyone because I'm a good doctor and I don't want to be a vampire, but
So
I'm doing it.
So if you did feed on one of these story centered characters, is it consensual? Are you like, hey, can I bite your neck and kill you because
No,
I made you better? Or is it like, sorry, bro?
no, you're like, I'm gonna hypnotize you, lead you off into like a dark corner, and then I'm gonna bite you.
And kill you.
Yeah. They give you like, like they have the moment where you're like, okay, you're gonna hypnotize this guy as part of like a tutorial story thing, and walk him over here. Okay, now you can decide if you want to like just like let them out of the hypnotization or if you want to feed on them. Uh, so
That's
I've got a
that's
bunch of people I could feed on, but I've decided not to do so.
so that's kind of your renegade versus paragon choice.
Kind of like I don't get the sense that there's any like actual morality stuff, but there kind of is. You'll like so after you get experience, then you have to go to sleep, and then that's when you can level up and put your points into the different things,
Gotcha.
and then that's when like consequences will happen is once you go to sleep. So like I did a story mission where I like had to go see this character and then shut down the thing they were doing. And then I got like a thing about a news story. And it's like, oh, this clinic in this area shut down because the person running it disappeared. And then I look in like if you go into like the menu that has all the characters for each borough, then it's like that person is missing and they're no longer in the story.
Interesting.
And so then that'll affect the lives of the characters in that area.
Are you ever like forced to make choices?
Yeah, so like that instance that I just described was a moment in the story where I had to make a
Got it.
choice
Okay.
about what am I going to do with this character.
Got it.
You also get like smaller choices like, oh, you found this item. Are you going to, like, oh, it revealed something
Cool.
like a
Okay.
secret about this character. Are you going to tell the other doctors? or are you going to confront them about it, or like how are you going to respond to this like shady business they're doing?
I guess I'm just wondering of like the thing that I think of. Obviously, it sounds like gameplay wise and even narrative wise, it's maybe closer to Mass Effect without as much focus on gunplay. But like, I think about stuff like in Dishonored, the way that if you kill lots of people, then the game later on, nastier things happen around the world. And
Yeah, there's
that,
some of that.
okay, because like in Dishonored, I think that works really well because of the kind of game that it is.
Mhm.
But if I would, a game that is more narrative focused and more conversational,
Mhm.
I would want there to be also hard choices of like, no, you're not just killing this guy or not killing them. You actually have to, because like if it's that you can play a clean run where you don't kill anybody and then you didn't actually make any choices. I guess if
Mhm.
like they're trying to pass off the kill or not kill as a serious choice, to me that's not like as interesting as if there's actual choices the narrative forces you to make.
Yeah, so there are choices the narrative forces you to make,
Cool.
and like I said, if you feed on a character, but then like a quest comes up and you need that character to complete that quest, then you can't do that quest. And then also if like it reduces like the safety or like health of like the district that you killed the
Yeah,
person in,
okay.
and then if you do that, then if you do that enough, then like it becomes like super dangerous and there's like
Got it.
powerful enemies that show up.
Interesting.
Is
Okay.
what I've gathered from like the tutorial tooltips and stuff that I haven't been
It
feeding on
So would you
PCs.
encounter like a character who's just totally reprehensible and you don't like the character at all, but if you were to feed on him, the area would become significantly less safe? Like, do those kinds of choices end up happening?
There are a lot of characters that I have like, I should eat you because you're so terrible, but I am making the specific choice to try to not eat anybody because I
mhm.
want to see what happens with all these characters interacting. Like, oh, is this character going to kill this character? Or are they going to get into a fight or like, stuff like that? Because there are all these interconnecting relationships, and I want to see if those actually turn into anything. And I don't know if I don't think I've gotten far enough to actually see those things start to intersect yet.
It
Like
seems
I've
like
only gone to the four boroughs.
the most interesting playthrough of that game, not to take away from the way that you're playing it, because but I can see why you would do it that way. But it seems like the most interesting playthrough of that game is one where you eat some people, but not
Yes.
everyone. And I'm wondering how hard it is to get to that most interesting playthrough. Like if it's like if the game kind of helps you find the right people to eat. But in a way, that's almost not desirable too, because it's like you
Yeah.
want that stuff to be very emergent. Fake emergent probably is
Yeah.
really more what
I,
it is. But
yeah. I
I don't
don't
know.
feel like the game is like steering you like, hey, you should eat this person, but it is
Hmm.
giving you like a lot of terrible people and who are doing like reprehensible stuff.
Yeah.
So it would be very easy to be like, okay, this guy, like, fuck this guy. He's a criminal. Yeah, and then there's also the people like, you're terrible, but you've got a son, or like maybe it's not actually your son, maybe
And
it's
those are interesting
old friend's
choices.
son and stuff like that. And so yeah, there's a lot of like, I could totally see like where people get like, no, fuck this guy, I'm gonna eat him. But also like for me, like I want to see how these characters interact and if
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
develop later on because I know that characters will disappear, but I don't know what'll happen if I don't eat them.
What
Yeah.
Another thing I would find interesting is seeing how the end game differs with all those different choices.
Yeah.
When I think about that, I think about like The Walking Dead season 1 with Telltale and
Mhm.
how you could enter the end game with just Lee, for example, or you could have
Mhm.
the full crew with him,
Mhm.
but it didn't really change what happened in the ending. Like,
Mhm.
I would be interested in seeing if you have a full crew in Vampire versus just your dude in Vampire. What's his name, Matt or something?
Jonathan Reed, I
There we go.
believe.
Sorry.
And
Yeah.
you're not collecting like team members like Mass Effect or anything. Like
Mhm.
you're solo the whole time, but you are like meeting people and interacting with them at like the hospital and
Right.
throughout the different.
Right. But like, I'm just saying it would be interesting to see the end game with none of those potential interactions influencing the end game versus all of them. Like, see if that actually makes a difference to the story.
Yeah, it would probably be much easier combat wise because you'd have so much experience depending on when you decide to eat the people. But yeah, I don't know what that would look like story wise.
Fair enough.
I'll try and maybe let you know if at least vaguely like, oh, I think that would matter, or I don't think it would matter at all. But yeah, the story is kind of, at least at the moment, trying to figure out why you became a vampire, or like who did it. It's a who done it at the moment, with like a bunch of other like stuff mixed in. So yeah, it's a game I would recommend if you were into like the Mass Effect conversation stuff. I don't know if I can like bone any of the people though. I don't know if that Mass Effect aspect is there. Well, I will report back maybe on that. We'll see.
On the bonability. Thank you.
Yeah, vampires, they're very sexual in nature, often. So I could see it happening. There's
Yeah,
a
I mean,
lot of nurses.
Just look at the count.
I don't know if that was supposed to be a joke or not, but well done. Anyway, I think that'll wrap up my vampire discussion. But one quick highlight: Evo is going on right now.
That is.
So I was watching some of the Dragon Ball Fighters stream yesterday, and I don't know if like any of you have experience watching much fighting games. Like, even as someone who plays Dragon Ball Fighters and enjoys it and is like, I don't know, I wouldn't say good, but like competent, I guess, maybe. uh Even like, well, listening to the commentary, I'm like, if I have barely understand what you're saying. Because like, so there are like multiple notations for like fighting game moves. There's like quarter circle back, and that's like, on the joystick you do a quarter circle going back from like the down position, or you can say like 2-4 back or something like that, I think, which refers to, on a number pad on a keyboard, is the notation like you do 2-4 like punch, which is quarter circle back. And so they'll say like 2H for down heavy, which is just like, come on. That's, if I wasn't a fighting game person, I wouldn't understand that at all. I barely understand it. And they keep using these terms, and I think Street Fighter has done a really good job with that, at least for the like the finals when they air them on ESPN. They've got Seth Killian and another guy breaking it down for a person who maybe doesn't know fighting games, for like a mainstream audience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that fighting game commentary would benefit if they just in general move towards that. Like, there are going to be people who want like the super hardcore in-depth commentary, and maybe you can have a stream for that. But I think the more layman's commentary would be beneficial in general, because
Sure.
they're just saying nonsense half the time. Especially with a game like Dragon Ball Fighters, which is so bonkers and all over the place, that just breaking it down in like easy to understand terms would be good. But the commentators for Dragon Ball are very excited, make lots of jokes, and say nonsensical stuff. I believe this was a quote from one of them during a match. Scissors' only move is to beat paper. It's by far the weakest play. If you're throwing scissors, you've already lost the mind game. That,
Wow.
that was from Dragon Ball Fighters commentary, I believe.
That's pretty good.
Philosophical.
And like they like kept riffing on that. Like, one guy was like, I'll throw paper 3 times in a row. And he's like, no way, you don't do that. That's crazy. Stuff like they're very fun to listen to, but like if I'm trying to actually follow like what's happening in the game along with the commentary, it's absolute nonsense.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That sounds like it beats limp DJ Khaled performance, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh man.
they do a really good job at like, making it fun to watch, but if you're trying to understand and learn, it's not very helpful.
Yeah.
uh so
Like,
but I'd take, excited. I don't know. I think like I haven't watched the Overwatch League, but at least when I was watching the League of Legends LCS Championship Series, it was they had a good mix of like, okay, here's like the high level, and then here's like the broken down play by play
Yeah.
fundamental what they did that
well,
made it so good.
it would be interesting if they did it kind of like how Valve does the international, which is there's the mainstream. Well, talking just about the English streams, there's
Mhm.
streams in every language, but for just the English stream, there's the mainstream, which is like the commentators talking with very intricate language that people that follow the scene understand. But then they also have the new player stream where they're
Yeah.
breaking down like why they're choosing to do this, what does this
Mhm.
actually do, what's going on with the teams right now, like what are they thinking. So like
Yeah.
talking about the lower level stuff, or I guess higher
Hmm.
level stuff that like the people who follow the pro scene every day of their
Hmm.
lives already
Hmm.
get.
Yeah,
So
and that's what Street Fighter does with they've got like the Twitch stream, and then they've got like the ESPN feed.
right,
And I think you
right,
can
right.
watch that on Twitch as well. But like Seth Killian does a really good job of making that accessible. And it's not just
Gotcha.
Seth, it's another character, it's another guy uh on there. I
Yeah.
can't remember who though. But and like right now it's group stages, so they're just burning through matches as fast as they can in like best of twos. So you're not necessarily going to get like, trying to get like all the highest level commentary, because some of these people are like scrub level,
Hmm.
basically, like not even worthwhile. But and like but the commentators being so excited makes it really easy to like at least find the match interesting. They just need to do a better job of like like communicating what's actually like the mechanics of what the people are doing.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense.
do you know if the ESPN feed is doing the thing that like Valve tried doing with the past few internationals, and that's kind of humanize a few of the players to kind of give them their own story?
I don't know if it's specific to ESPN, but last year with I think it was last year. I th- uh there was, yeah, I think it was last year. Punk in like Street Fighter was, I think he's like 18 or was 18 at the time or something. And they had like, stories and interviews with him. And then his dad was there, and Long Island Joe. It might have been last year, the year before, his dad. And like, so, like they tend to do it with the American players because I think that's easier for like an ESPN audience to like
Hmm.
get behind. Um, and like the people they're following are very exciting and like interesting people. And I don't think like the language. I think there's like a language barrier with like some of the Japanese players who tend to also be the top players who tend to be in the top. So I think Waypoint actually did one of their. They had like a thing that aired on Disney XD about
Yeah.
Evo, and I think they talked to Punk. So if you can, I'll see if I can find that and link you to it, because there are some really good stories about like these up and comers who are like, you know, they're super positive. Long Island Joe, I think, is a great example. Super positive guy, super nice, and like super like excited and fun to watch. But then like, oh man, he lost. But like seeing everyone like rally around those people on Twitter, like the night of the finals and stuff, is really exciting and interesting.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, did how was the Overwatch League stuff, Pat? Did you watch it?
I caught up on some of it. I didn't watch it live. It was good. I don't know. I think that they had great presentation. They were really doing it right in a lot of ways. I just lost steam on that because the teams that I was interested in just fell super flat. And it was really, I mean, my one of my least favorite teams was one of the teams playing in the finals against London, who was a team I just didn't care about at all. So I don't know. I, dude, they need to start using their real names. Like that. That's part of it. Is like I cannot give a shit about somebody who uses a wonky like not their like. I don't want to trying to tread carefully here because I don't want to like imply that uh any specific type of person is like less enjoyable to follow, but like there's a lot of like, let's say that there's sort of an archetype that like somebody like Ninja fits into. Like imagine like 30 dudes like that have weird puns with leet speak in their names sitting behind monitors. Like I just don't give a shit about those
I
guys.
mean,
And
Tyler Ninja Blevins.
yeah, like the guy that I like the most is his name is Jake, because that's just his name. His name's Jake. His name in Overwatch League is Jake. And he played for Houston, and I got kind of into Houston, but then Houston just took a dive after about halfway through the season. They started losing a lot. So I don't know. They need to get players to use their real names, because their real names are on display on the stream. It's not like they show their name as like Jake, whatever his last name is, I forgot. So it's not like they're like
Jake Roberts.
Yeah, it's not like they're protecting their identities or anything by using their game names. And I think it would just make it a lot easier for people to get invested in those players. It would put more of a face on them. They also need to start, like, it's tough. Like so many of the players in the Overwatch League are assholes, and they proved that time and time again with the way that they conducted themselves over the course of the season. And it's hard because it's kind of a limited pool of players that are that skilled to work with, so they can't just like kick them out for too much. But it kind of sucks seeing people that like used homophobic slurs playing in the playoffs. Like to me, that's toxic behavior that we don't support, and I wish that team had just dropped that player. But they also, like, there's only so many professional Overwatch players too, so I don't know. It's a tough, like, it's a tough world, and they're kind of treading ground. They're trying to do it in a way that's different than I think Evo is approaching it, where they're trying to bring it to mainstream, whereas Evo feels like, from what the coverage I've watched, is more like, if you are mainstream and you're interested, here's a path, but we're not trying to like pull Evo over to being something that can be on ESPN. It's more like, if ESPN's interested, sure, we'll do a stream. Whereas Overwatch League is like, they're trying to pull esports into the mainstream. And I think both paths are actually important for the direction of that stuff in general. But yeah, I don't know. They need to play regional games. It needs to be like, as big of a expense as that is for an electronic sports league, and as silly as it sounds, if you live in New York, you should be able to go see New York Excelsior play a game. If you live in Philadelphia, you should be able to go see the Fusion play a home game. That's going to create more mainstream fandom, because as it stands is, it was a lot of hardcore Overwatch fans in Los Angeles that picked teams based on who played for them and who they had watched in previous competitive Overwatch leagues. So they got to do regional games. They got to get people to use their real names, and I think they'll be on their way.
If anyone's got the money to do it, it's Blizzard.
Yeah.
And I think Overwatch is probably a decent game to be that game. Like, it's very colorful and easy to follow. Like, someone casually watching it could be like, oh, okay, I understand what's going on here, even if they don't understand all of the abilities.
Yeah, much like League of Legends, like there's like roles that you play and people can gravitate to. I love this player for this role because XYZ, or like, I'm inspired by that or whatever. So yeah, that's really cool. Actually, one thing I'm curious about, because I was thinking about this while I was watching the Evo stream, is in the finals of like League and like fighting game tournaments and stuff, I've always noticed that like it always boils down to like the same team compositions. Like everyone's playing the exact same thing, whereas throughout like a regular season or like even earlier in a tournament, people are trying wild, crazy shit. It's like, so it's like kind of earlier in a tournament is often way more interesting because you've got like a much wider variance in like team composition or just like characters that people are playing. And then once you get to the top, it's everyone's playing like the same like 4 top tier characters, except maybe like one person who has like a weird pocket pick that no one's used to, so they get caught off guard. Was that the case with Overwatch League? Everyone doing different stuff in the regular season and then kind of moving towards a similar stuff?
Really, the way that it tends to work is that Overwatch's character pool is so limited compared to something like League or Dota, that you don't really see there's counters that happen because you can swap characters when you die.
Mhm.
And so there's certainly like picks matter, but it's largely based on the map that you're playing on and the player playing. So it's you're not going to see like weird, like, oh, they're trying this crazy tactic where they got 4 healers. That just doesn't really happen. It's much more about like each person plays 2 to 3 champions or plays 2 to 3 characters very well, and then they'll swap based on the other team's composition. But because you can swap characters so much in the middle of a match, there's a lot of fluidity to how the team comps play out, and so you don't really see like crazy strategies in general that much. At least I didn't really notice any when I was watching. It's pretty like these are the characters that these players are good at. These are who they play. And you tend to see almost every character played. I mean, Doomfist is the one that I don't remember seeing much Doomfist play. He's pretty weak. Doomfist and Sombra are really the 2 characters that you don't see that much of. But otherwise, it's a pretty good spread.
Interesting. So if you're interested in fighting games or not interested in fighting games, even I'd say, hey, check out the Evo stuff going on. At least the finals, those are usually pretty exciting. And like I was saying, the commentary is pretty good and interesting. They keep it pretty fresh by rotating out the commentators every hour or 2, I think. And best of 2 games, so you're seeing a lot of like turnover. With the Dragon Ball stuff, I've seen it's a lot of like the top tier characters, but every once in a while, like a pocket pick will come out, and you're like, "Ooh, how's this gonna go?" And then usually it goes poorly for that person, but sometimes it goes well. Like when that one guy pulled out Yamcha and won a tournament against like the best player.
Yeah.
So now there's a lot of Yamchas in the field.
Do you does anyone here care about the international this year?
Kind of. I mean, I haven't really followed any of the majors this year. Like I played a ton of Dota last year, but I haven't played it in just under 12 months. So
yeah,
but I'll probably watch it. Yes.
I can't. Dota just doesn't. I don't like anything about that game. Dota 2. I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the way it plays. I don't like anything about it.
It's a brick wall of a game, that's for damn sure.
Like, I mean, you
gotta really want to climb it.
Real deep into League of Legends, and like I spent years playing that. And anytime I touch Dota, I'm just like, this doesn't feel good.
I think that happens. Like, I straddled the fence and played both of those games. I have probably played 200-ish hours of each of those games, which is for those games by no means a ton.
That's amateur shit.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is that because I never played either of them at a particularly high level, I was kind of able to float back and forth between them. Yeah. But my friends who I played League with, I played Dota by myself because I think that Dota is a better designed game in terms of the numbers. But all of my friends played League, so I would play League with them. And whenever I tried to get them to play Dota, they described the same feeling that you had, which was like they've all played thousands of hours of League. So whenever they pick up Dota, it's like picking up like a burning coal. It's just like gross. Everything about it feels awful. And I think that's because the subtle differences between those 2 games are pronounced enough that like if you play one for thousands of hours or hundreds of hours, whatever, like tons of time, the other one's naturally going to feel like totally garbage. And I think that's pretty normal.
I think like I've put almost 5,000 hours into Dota 2. So I think over the past 7 years or something like that. I think there's a lot of elitism from both communities, unfortunately. But yes. I think you're going to find that Dota players would have an easier time going to League than the other way around. Just because League is mechanically not as dense as Dota. So like there's some things you'll have to get used to, but with going from League to Dota, there's a lot of things that you have to learn that League doesn't do at all.
Yeah, there's, for me at least, like it's the movement, like, and which is weird to say about like a
it's
RTS type,
it's
like
superior though.
Dota's way slower.
It's that,
everything moves slower.
Like, if I'm like, okay, now no, turn around, and then there's like they actually have to like physically turn around, which is like interesting, but I don't got time for that.
Yeah,
uh,
I
and
would
just the way the abilities and targeting stuff works, it's never felt good.
I could see, like, if you were going to compare it to other games, I could see it being like League being Call of Duty and Dota being like Arma. Like they're both totally viable. Like they're both shooters. They're both like similar enough that if you look at them from the outside, they probably look very similar. But when you're actually playing it, like there's just so much going on that's different.
So does that mean that the best MOBA Smite is like the best shooter Battlefield?
Bob Ross skin in Battlefield 5.
If only we can. If only we're so lucky.
uh, so you're talking about DJ Khaled's appearance at Overwatch League. One year, I think it was when they were in Korea. League of Legends had Imagine Dragons.
Oh
do a
yeah,
show.
I watched that entire tournament very live. I took like time off. My friends and I sat around in a basement and watched the Imagine Dragons performance. That shit was wild because that was in a massive football stadium, way bigger than any stadium in the United States, like or Canada. It was like just this like immense,
like World Cup Olympic Stadium type shit.
Yeah, and it was like sold out too. It sat like 220,000 people and it was sold out, and none of those people gave a single shit about Imagine Dragons.
Yeah, but like also at least they were into the game. Whereas DJ Khaled, he doesn't
even know what Overwatch
he doesn't know what Overwatch is.
He said on stage, "When I say over, you say watch." And then he explained how like it was really important for him to come and be there because the Overwatch League is making history or something, and that like he needed to be a part of it because it's on the cutting edge, but also that like he was in town because he's on tour with Beyonce and Jay-Z and he wanted everyone to know that. And it's just I mean, like, I don't know. It was bad. Let's say I've enjoyed some of DJ Khaled's antics in the past. Things like his infamous getting lost on the jet ski. Like a lot of that stuff has been very good entertainment. This was awful. Like I don't think they could have done much worse. I think they could have pulled up somebody from the stage to like play guitar on stage, and it would have been better than DJ Khaled. He was fucking terrible.
Get a nice Wonderwall sing along going.
He tried to get people to rap lyrics to a song that came out like 4 days ago, or 4 days prior to the show.
Yeah.
Like do Quavo's rap from this new song that came out 2 days ago, and no one knew the words. Why would you know the words?
It's especially in that crowd. Like even if you went to like a concert and did that would be like a tough sell. You go to Overwatch League.
I can't remember exactly what the wording was, but when they introduced him, it was something like the person was like, "It's going down on stage right now with DJ Khaled," and it was definitely on purpose. There is no way that it was not on purpose.
DJ Khaled. Overwatch esports.
Going down.
Esports is always going down.
Sports are going down,
especially Evo right now. They will, and then Goku and Vegeta will come to Dragon Ball Fighters finally.
Oh, okay.
Goku and Vegeta will come to Dragon Ball Fighters.
I've been waiting.
Yeah, now you can finally get it. Goku and Vegeta are finally in the game. But yeah, I think that'll do it unless anyone else has anything they want to talk about. No? Okay. Well, this has been episode 31 of Gaming Fix. Please rate, like, comment on iTunes, Google Play, fix.space. Do we have an RSS feed on there? I don't even know.
Yeah, we do.
Facebook, come talk to us.
Pornhub.
We don't bite unless you ask. Yeah, well, Alex will tell you about that one. You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. Where can people find you, Alex?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Where can't they find you? Process eliminate. List all the places you cannot be found.
Texas.
Okay.
South Africa.
Okay.
nor Israel.
Okay. Okay, I think that's a good start.
Tune in next
Lucy
week
asks,
for the next place that
where in the
can't
world
find
is
Alex.
Alex?
No,
Where in the
where
world is
isn't
Alex
in the world?
Galinas? Where isn't
Where?
in the world is Alex Galinas? Pat, best boy, where can people find you?
You can find me at JesterPC on stuff and at gamingandconfidence.com, and also in the Puget Sound region of the state of Washington, United States.
Yo, your damn website. I tried to make a comment on one of your blog posts because it was a lovely blog
Yeah,
post.
that said
And
you
then
were.
it said I was a spam robot.
Yeah. There's some spam protection going on because I got botted pretty hard recently, so it's being a little overzealous right now.
If only some bots would come to our podcast, we could get some engagement. Get those numbers up.
Damn.
Don't worry,
But,
this will be the highest rated podcast that we have yet.
We should make sure to put esports in the tag, and then we'll be
Also, vampire boats.
DJ Khaled.
vampire boats. What else? Yeah, I don't know. Just we talked about Ninja. I think that'll get us at least 1 million followers. Right? That's how that works.
His hair is so pink right now.
I can't get enough pink.
Well, there we have an episode title at least.
There's some energy. I think it was a 5-hour energy commercial. I think they had like a pink one, and there was like some football player. He's like, I can't get enough pink.
Wow.
Just put that over DJ Khaled at Overwatch League Finals.
Yeah. I went on the Evangelion roller coaster. It was VR.
Was it disappointing, just like the show?
I enjoyed it. It was fun. Yeah, it was a good time. VR roller coaster. So
did they congratulate you at the end with clapping?
Yes, they always do. Every ride. I think it's every ride they clap for you, which is just. I mean, like for kids, I guess it makes sense, but they should be like, okay, there's no kids on this ride. Let's no. But yeah, that was. I went there with Erica and her husband Xavier. It was a good time. I don't like riding the Jurassic Park ride because I don't like the drops.
Is it like a roller coaster or is it a boat?
It's
boat ride?
It's a water boat ride. There is a roller coaster, but
that's like the one in Florida then, at Universal Florida. I like those.
The Hollywood one they're replacing, and now I'm wondering if they're going to make it like the ball things from the new movies.
Yeah, that would make sense. I don't like roller coasters where it's like you're up very high and you could fall off and die. See, that's why I like the boat ones, because it's like
the what is it? The flying dinosaur. You're hanging the entire time, and and like especially on the climb, and then you go upside down. It's head first, and then go upside. You go underground at one point.
Nope, not for me. Not for me. I'll take a boat ride with some drops, but no thanks for that.
There's a really good picture of me with just wide-eyed terror on the boat ride, and I've ridden it like 3 times now, but it's still I don't like it. I don't like the drops. But yeah, that's gonna when it was like 100 degrees, that getting splashed with the water was nice. Go long, as that's our motto here. Thanks for joining me today, guys. It was fun.
It's a good time.
Always.
Anytime on a Saturday.
It's Sunday, but yeah. Wow, yeah. I thought, normally I was like, oh, this is, we're only 3 of us. We're only gonna have a little bit to talk about, but then we went forever.
Yep.
Conversation, esports, vampires, trading card games, music.
Yep.
Really range the gamut. Video games are good.
They're okay for right now.
Not too bad.
What if Red Dead got delayed?
I realized that I don't want to play Red Dead on a PlayStation 4, and it's making me think that I may not play Red Dead this year. Like, I definitely don't want to play that game on a console, because we're hitting that point in the cycle where, like, I don't have a PS4 Pro. I'm not going to buy a PS4 Pro. I'm not going to buy an Xbox One X. And Red Dead's going to probably not run great on standard hardware. So, like, I may
probably
just
won't
wait till they
play
put it out on
PS4
PC.
Pro either.
No, like I might just wait till they come out with it on PC. Who knows when that will be, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen.
Yeah, they haven't said they're doing it.
I don't think they have an official. I think they said that they're planning to release it on PC, but that that's like as far as they've gone.
Yeah,
How long did it take GTA 5 to come to PC after the console release?
6 months.
A while. Really? Is that fast? I thought it was more like a year or two.
I thought it might have been a year. I'm not sure though. I think Andre is furiously Googling as we speak.
17th, 2013.
Yeah, so actually there's no plans
that's the
yet
initial release date. Wait, what?
There's nothing yet for Red Dead on PC. Like, I guess I'm wrong. They haven't even said. There was a petition to get them to release it there, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't really feel inclined to spend $60 on console games at this point in the cycle anymore.
It was 6 months after it came out on PS4 and Xbox One.
Oh,
that's cool. Oh, yeah. So that was like a year after.
It was like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Because it was September 2013, November 2014, then April 2015 for PC.
Well, and that worked really well for them because a lot of us, like I think a lot of people did this. I bought GTA 4 or GTA 5, GTA 4, God, GTA 5 on PS3, and then I bought it on PS4, and then I bought it again on PC. Granted, those were more spread out than just the straight release dates. Like I bought it on PS3 on release day, then I bought it on PS4 the first day it came out for PS4, and then like 2 years later I got it on sale on PC. But still, I bought it 3 times. I don't think I want to do that again with Red Dead.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever play GTA 5, and I don't think I'll ever play Red Dead Redemption 2. Those games don't do it for me.
Same.
I can see that. Yeah, I don't know. GTA 5 was good in a way that I don't need them to make another one. I don't know. There's so many more interesting open world games out there that are like more exciting. Like I would rather go through and play The Witcher. I've never finished The Witcher 3. I'd rather go through and finish The Witcher 3 than play Red Dead 2. You know? Like that's the kind of stuff. Like there's so many games out now that, yes, I see the hand motions. There's so many games out now that like I don't need to play a Rockstar Western if it's not made available to me in a way that is super palatable. Which if it were releasing on PC, I would play it because I like the first game. But yeah,
that's sensible. But I hope that game's good.
Yeah, for people who are excited for it, I hope it's good.
That doesn't do it for me. The bends. I need the bends, and I need this podcast to end.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what does do it for all of us?
Yeah, I need the ends. So long, everybody.
The end sounds gross.
Oh, it is. The butt end.
Yeah.
Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye.
That's it. It's Finn, title card.
Buenos noches.